And Mr. Chairman, there's a question on these vouchers that perhaps we could have the clerk, when she's got a moment, take a look at. We approved 2 vouchers. There's 3 in the packet. One of them is a duplicate, but there's also additional amounts. And the signature on it for the second, I believe, is Mr. Gonzalez, who, of course, is not a voting member of the board. So it may all be fine, but it's a little curious to me. Maybe we could take a look.
I'll have to have, and it's
Oh, it is a 2-page.
yeah, it is a 2-page, yes.
Okay, my confusion was that the line for the person seconding the motion was signed by the county administrator, and that's what threw me. So,
Sign in the wrong area.
yeah, so if you'd like me to sign that, just send it back, please.
Okay.
All right. So with that, is there anybody else for public comment? Because it's still open for public comment.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's good to be back. I'm very grateful for a good process of vetting and calling for eligible candidates for the Chief Examiner Secretary of the Civil Service, all the hard work that HR has provided, what Michael has done to support us. We did successfully interview, and we will be installing a new Chief Examiner Secretary this afternoon. I would like to frame the steps moving forward as the chairman of the Civil Service Commission. That the Civil Service Commission is the only body that can appoint a civil examiner. And as we move forward, we will be working with HR jointly until both parties are satisfied that our new chief examiner is well prepared and set in place to move forward. She will be overseeing this meeting, July's meeting, and if necessary, August's meeting. I will definitely communicate with Michael and the Board of Commissioners that we are fully established and separate as a civil service board. We do encourage, and actually it would be very, very wise to read 41.14.200 about the cooperation and aid of other county offices and employees. As early as last week, somehow we were referring to Michael as the temporary civil service commissioner. That's not under the power of the county commissioners. It's only under the power statutorily with the commission. And I know we've been through a very vast transition. There is always grace as we work together to move forward. I'm providing accurate information so that we can move forward on the same page and understanding. I am still recovering. This is my 6th week. I will see my post-op surgeon tomorrow. As far as moving forward for me, it will be tentative to what happens after that. To be very honest, I had a very large tumor that was found to have cancer, but I have no other cancer found in my blood or all the 12 or 15 biopsies that I had. I'm feeling well, but I will pace myself accordingly. We do have a quorum with our 2 other commissioners, and we are working very closely with the prosecuting attorney's office to make sure that we are on par with all legal issues and activities of civil service, and we will continue working very closely with them. Do you have any questions for me?
It is public comment, so it's just public comment.
Yes, I understand, but I'm actually an entity, and I don't like being included under public comment, but I don't have a choice.
It's public comment.
Well, I would ask
Thank
maybe
you.
consideration that you provide a time that we can come forward under the department review.
Thank you. Okay, is there anybody else for public comment? No phone calls?
No, sir, no phone calls.
Seeing nobody else come to the mic, we'll move on to regular business. 5-year lease, Mr. Erdman on the Caterpillar Road Grader.
Yes, thank you. Before the board is a 5-year lease purchase agreement with Summit National Bank for one Caterpillar Model 150 motor grader, which will replace a Caterpillar 140 M3 motor grader. Initial lease payment will be $45,965.93. with future payments of $41,918.98 for the fiscal years of 2024, 25, 26, and 27, with a final payment of $225,000 in 2028 should the equipment rental and revolving account not exercise the lease return guaranteed buyback option. All payments will be from ER&R with the lease payments budgeted successfully, as I stated before. On December 6, 2022, the board approved by Resolution 2022-322 the annual construction program and major purchases for Franklin County Public Works. This grader was on that list, and it is the opinion of the Public Works that this lease agreement is in the best interest for the county. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have. Mrs. Stark from Public Works Office is here to answer any more detailed.
Any questions, commissioners?
So, Craig, the fact that it was on the approved list back in December, Resolution 2022-322, means that this action's already been approved. I understand why you're coming back now, and since you have, I would just take advantage of the opportunity to ask a couple of questions that I'm pretty sure I know the answers to, but I'd kind of like the public to know also.
Okay. Well, hopefully I know them.
Well, I'm sure you do. They're pretty simple. We've got a long-established practice in the county of leasing some of this heavy equipment rather than owning. We've had a lot of discussions over the years about the cost-effectiveness of leasing and the increasing maintenance and upkeep costs as they get older, and although there's market demand for them after the fact, if they're beat up enough that we're getting rid of them, they don't bring a whole lot of money. And so I know you've done all the calculations that leasing is more cost-effective. And this particular lease exchange was in the approved program back in December. So the only real question in the whole thing is, given changing market values over the years, because I don't recall us discussing this in the last few years at least, are you still comfortable and confident that this is a more cost-effective way for taxpayers rather than go ahead and executing the purchase agreement, using it for another year or so, and then selling it?
Yes, at this time, but we're continually evaluating that. And if it comes to a point where it seems more viable to go back to purchase and
Okay,
then we'll do that.
good. Well, I appreciate it. You affirmed what I thought was the case, but I also think the public needs to know that you're doing that. So thank you.
So Craig, I'm looking through the lease, and usually leases like this, they do all the oil changes, they do all the maintenance, is that correct?
I'm not sure on this. We generally take care of that. If we need stuff from them or special service, it's my belief that they do that part.
Okay. Yeah, because I was just curious, in the lease agreement, that's usually the way it is. If you lease equipment, that they take care of all that, which is a big expense also. And I see that there's an option to buy at the end of the lease, so
Yes.
that's also a good deal.
Yes, it is.
Because
And if it comes to the point where we think, the service life of the blade it's more effective for the county to purchase it, then we'll do that.
Or
Otherwise-
even availability, because
Yeah.
it may not be available, and that's one of the things. I'm glad that you're
Yeah,
wrapping
well-
this up now.
The logistics chain is a strange world right now.
Yes, it is. So I have no problems, and this has already been pretty much approved, so we got a resolution here we need to pass. Is there any further questions?
No, I just want to make the comment. I do see the change in there from the last time where it says that we can return the equipment to the nearest Western State Equipment dealership, whereas in the past it said at their discretion or something. So I'm glad to see that got cleared up. I
At
mean,
least it's codified now. I mean,
Yes.
it in actuality never worked where we were going to have to take it to Texas or anything like
right.
that. But
But I'm just
But
glad
it's nice to have
I'm
it.
glad that it's clarified. No, thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. I have no further questions.
Move to approve Resolution 2023-174 in a matter of a 5-year lease agreement, purchase agreement for Caterpillar motor grader as presented.
Second?
There's been a motion and a second for Resolution 2023-174. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Erdman.
Thank you.
Next is a public hearing on the Shoreline Master Plan, presented by Derek Bratton.
Thank you, Chair. I just realized I sat down, but I'm not doing a PowerPoint, but I'm so used to doing this. Anywho, yes, this is a public hearing on the Shoreline Master
Oh,
Program.
and excuse me,
Go ahead.
need to open the public hearing.
This is okay. Originally, we were hoping that this would be our public hearing and potentially final action if the board was satisfied, with what we'd produced. However, late last week, we were notified by Ecology that they were beginning their 30-day review. I have reached out to get clarification regarding this because they've had the item since May 8th. So we're trying to figure out, according to the WACs, it says they're supposed to give us a determination within 30 days of submittal, which would be June 8th, 7th, something like that. And then we received a notification on the 7th that they were starting our 30-day review. I am, like I said, reaching out. I haven't heard back, so I'm going to be doing another reach out today to the regional manager to clarify for me exactly what happened. At the same time, when we started this process, we had one person at Ecology that was our contact. Then we got a second one. Then it got transferred to a third one. Now, the nice thing is that the first one is now the regional manager, so he should have some familiarity with our project, and I'm hoping to get this worked out. Why am I telling you all this? Because we can't take action, final action, on the SMP as far as adoption goes until it has been approved by Ecology. So I'm doing what I can to expedite that because we have a due date of June 30th. However, this delay is not on the part of the county. It is on the part of Ecology, and I don't think that we should be, what's the word, not punished.
Penalized.
Thank you, penalized because of that. So I'm working on that. That said, public hearing, this is a legislative item, and it's something to go out. But the reality of what we've done is AHBL as our planning consultant, and I have Emily with them in case there's particular questions regarding what they did or anything like that. But what we did is we went through our Shoreline Master Program, reviewed it against all the changes at the legislature and stuff like that.
Derek, if I may, and before you get too much into the details, I'm not aware of any authority that Ecology holds to extend these deadlines. As I recall, they're statutory.
That's my recollection as well.
And so if we don't submit and it runs over the line, it's on us. If we do submit,
It's on them.
it's on them, and they can, I think it's unrealistic to hope that they would finish their review quickly enough for us, the board, to then have a hearing with due notice and take action and get it approved. So the question is, do you think it's wiser for us to hold it in abeyance and not be overly concerned about the strict language in the RCW, since it's well documented that the delay is Ecology? Or it's well documented because you have a record of when you submitted it, and you also have a record of them saying they're just now starting it.
Right.
The alternative seems to be for us to go ahead and approve it after you brief us on it, and we submit it to Ecology, and if they've got changes after the fact, well, okay, we'll probably have to adopt those. I'm just thinking about your office and the county and liability for compliance with the statute. Do you think that's a concern, or should we just continue to roll with Ecology's schedule?
You bring up a good point, and I'm going to grab Emily here in a second to also respond to it. What my theory was is, at a minimum, we'd hold the hearing and then keep it potentially alive And if I got something, say, for next week, you know, these types of things. That said, the way you nuance what you just said there, I hadn't really thought of it that way. And that's where I'd like Emily to speak,
Yeah.
kind of, because they've got a little bit more of the nuanced legal
Sure,
knowledge than I do
sure.
with regard to those types of
Well,
situations.
one of the real concerns, and I don't want to draw too much attention to it, but I suppose it's too late, I already have. If Ecology comes back with substantive changes, we have to do another hearing anyway.
This is true.
And they're the approval authority, ultimately, not us. So while a hearing today is beneficial and it helps people get up to speed, it's just that question about cart and horse. Do we proceed and do our part? And my thinking is that maybe you send some sort of correspondence to Ecology saying that we've had our hearing, board was prepared to take an action, and we're holding that in abeyance, waiting for your comments. Please advise if you'd like us to proceed now or wait for your comments. Just something to get it on the record. I think it's a courtesy to Ecology and probably good for us to have it on the record.
Yeah, I think that can work. The ordinance that you have has not been signed, approved as to form. So my preference regarding that aspect of it would be to wait until the 20th, if that's okay, so that we can get all the paperwork square. But,
Derek, before we go there,
yeah,
I'm reading through coordination, and it says the county's prosecuting attorney's office has the ordinance for review. Review is expected completed by June 9th. Have they completed?
he did get it done by the
So our-
9th, but it's not in the packet. And
So we
There
don't
is-
have the review in the packet from the PA.
exactly, and that's why, like I said, if
So we don't have everything in order yet. It would be in the packet, but if everything was in order.
right.
It needs to be in here.
So, and because of the long lead time on these packets, we were operating under one paradigm, and then we found out after the packets were submitted that these issues had arisen. And that's kind of where we're at the moment. So I do apologize for the confusion with this, because frankly, I'm a little confused too, because I'm not used to,
Yeah,
you
I
have a
don't really think.
program, you have a thing laid out, and then to have something like this happen.
Yeah, I don't think the confusion's in your office, candidly. Ecology is supposed to have it done 30 days after you submitted it. You submitted it in a timely manner. Yesterday is the date by which we should have had feedback from Ecology, and we could be reviewing and finalizing this at a hearing next week. So I think you've checked all the boxes. That's not the concern. The concern is just that we have the fact that Ecology is not up to date, and by virtue of them being late, we'll break the required date in the RCW. And just like many, many, many state contracts, right, that start in July of the state fiscal year, we sometimes get them in September. And everybody's pretty much okay with that, even though that violates the RCW. So all I'm suggesting at this point is that I think you just have some communication with Ecology that says, look, we understand you've had some turnover. We understand you're busy. We had hoped to receive this, sooner so that we could have approved by the end of the month.
Tell us
Please,
what
please,
to
please
do.
let us know if you'd like us to wait for your input before we approve it. Just politely creating the record that you've done everything right.
So if I'm gonna what I'm hearing you say is kind of give them a heads up that this is going on, give them an idea of what date I'm going to be bringing it to y'all for adoption.
Yeah, just tell them we're prepared to proceed. It'd probably be next week sometime, I would guess.
That would be what I would.
And ask them to have their comments in as soon as possible. And it just creates a record so that everybody knows that if we go past the statutory deadline, we did
We've
everything.
done our part.
Everything and
And
then
if they
some.
want to make some changes, we'll have to just change them after.
Sure. And normally I wouldn't be quite so concerned, but the shoreline plans are a big deal, and they impact ag in a big way. The impacts are far-reaching, And so we just want to cross our Ts and dot our Is.
So we did notice, folks, we sent things along the shorelines to all the landowners along the shorelines in unincorporated. Pasco's doing their own SMP, so they'll
Yeah.
deal with their things that way. But,
Well, just
Yeah.
to put a fine point on my previous comment, there's, 33 miles of Columbia River shoreline, there's 58 miles of Snake River shoreline, there's 15 miles of Palouse River shoreline, and there's a whole long list of lakes.
yeah.
I mean, the impacts are
Yeah.
potentially far-reaching,
Now,
so.
thankfully, we're not going to see a lot of change. Most
Good.
of our SMP, there were minor tweaks just to bring things into regulatory compliance with, the changes that have occurred at the state level and things like that. But we didn't really, it's mostly just a cleanup job. It wasn't like we went and changed a bunch of anything, really. I mean, we made changes, minor, but mostly it's formatting and regulatory requirements, citations, citing the right codes, these types of things. We didn't go in and like change buffers or
But there are a number of RCW changes, and that's what ecology's looking at, and how those new laws
Yep.
and statutes affect our shoreline plan. Candidly, I don't know at this point, and I don't know that you can even know at this point, so
That's what these fine
that's
folks
what
did.
AHPL does. So we wait and see, but listen, thank you for walking
Yep.
through that with me. This
Yep.
is really one of the more significant land use things we do, and
It's-
I just
it's
want
a
us to get it
primary.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
So this is a public hearing. Commissioner Mullen, do you have anything to add?
Not at this time, no.
Is there anybody in the public that'd like to have an opinion on this? Would you like to?
Yeah, can you comment a little bit on the idea of us going ahead and adopting that?
Sure. So our recommendation would be to keep the public hearing open until the last week in July, if possible.
Okay.
That way you don't have to renotice it. We expect Ecology can get us comments hopefully this week. We were next on the list. They just have a huge backlog. We've been pushing, trying to contact everyone at Ecology that can help. But it's been with Ecology for a long time. Hopefully this week, but you never know. The good part is we've been working with Ecology throughout this whole process, so they're aware of the changes we're making. I don't anticipate any major corrections from them. But of course, they might have minor changes or recommended changes, but we don't expect anything major. So if you have the option to keep the public hearing open until next week or the week after, we can hopefully get Ecology's comments back, incorporate them, and get everything packaged for you.
Okay, and that's what
With
we'll do.
Adoption by, the deadline.
We'll leave this open until such time. So,
So, question for you.
Yeah.
In the read-ahead material, it says that the local SMP, the Shoreline Master Plan adoption due date and the end of the grant period are June 30th. And you just talked about keeping the hearing open till end of July.
End of June.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
And I'm pretty sure you said July, but anyway, thank you. I just wanted to find out which it was, because if it's end of July, we've got time, but
Oh,
it's the end of the state fiscal year, it's June 30th.
Yeah.
Okay, thank
So,
you.
Yeah, next week or the week after.
okay.
Hopefully we can get this to you.
So if there's nobody wanting to come forward, we'll leave this public hearing open, and hopefully we get a response from Ecology.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now moves us down to Commissioner Administrator updates. Mr. Gonzalez?
Good morning, Commissioner. Thank you. Continue to be busy. One of the big things, met with Benton Franklin Health Advisory Committee this past Thursday. A lot of folks, this has been in the news quite a bit. This is the group looking at Substance Abuse Treatment Center and a Crisis Stabilization Center. So the big topic of discussion was a new name for it. So, and this is sort of a preliminary name. The folks wanted to call it the Columbia River Regional Recovery Center. It's kind of a mouthful, so it might not ultimately be the name. So a lot of things going on with that. KGH, just to update folks, that's going to be used for inpatient residential substance use treatment. Also, we'll use the Welch's building for crisis stabilization. So those talks continue, and really making a lot of progress on that front. So I think that's going to be really impactful to the community. I've been working with Sheriff Raymond and his group on an active shooter policy, and to get some training for our staff, just sort of the time that we're in. We really need to guard against those type of things. Had a walkthrough of the HAPO Center with McKinstry, just to update that. Some of the HVAC system parts, just like anything else, they're lagging. So some of the rooftop fixtures won't be done until July of 2024. Facilities crew, something that we're going to have to look at is the Port of Pasco. They're expanding some of their airport runways, so this may actually move some of our facilities out where we have storage. So that's something I've been working with that group pretty closely on. IS, been working to update some of the jail cameras, so not only for safety of the inmates, but for our employees out there. So that's a project that does continue. Been working with Craig. Their division really been working hard. They're doing their chip sealing, so that's something that a lot of people up in North County are seeing. Other than that, ARPA funding, a lot of the fire districts that we're going to take care of, but have been working hard with just about all the fire districts. So hopefully we can get all those folks, the fire trucks and the ambulances that they need, and keep our folks up in North County really safe.
All right. Thank you. And your letter, again, it's very well done.
Thank you. I
Every
appreciate it.
update later,
Absolutely.
letter, every week is very well done. Commissioner Peck.
Washington Aviation Advisory Committee for the state legislature was scheduled for Monday. It was canceled last minute, so that'll be coming back up in the schedule probably this week. Yesterday, Wasac's biweekly update was on homeless housing. It was hosted by Department of Commerce, and it was focused mostly on the financial stream, which is both legislative directed dollars and recording fees on documents. If you do the math on it, there's a relatively small percentage that flows or stays at the county after you pay a fee on a recording document. Most of it stays at the state. Then it goes to Department of Commerce, and then counties can apply for grants out of that. Anybody wants more details on how that process works, feel free to get in touch. Had a lengthy meeting with one of the senior staff folks at Wasac, Mr. Paul Jewell, and my co-chair for the State Legislative Steering Committee, mapping out how we want to approach the 2024 legislative season. We had a successful 2023 in terms of getting the agenda items that we brought forward passed, and for 2024, which will be a short session, we'll be meeting with all 39 counties about 4 times over the next 4 months to map out what the agenda items are that Wasac wants to bring to the legislature for consideration and hopefully approval. If anyone's got a particular issue or agenda item that you'd like to have considered for that process, please feel free to let me know or contact Wasac. Either way will work just as well, and it'll get considered along with all the other inputs over the next few months. We got a meeting coming up this week that followed a meeting last week, which is on the Columbia Regional Economic Development Investment Trust, or the Credit Board. It's under the Benton Franklin Council of Governments, as well as the Rural Revolving Loan Fund, which is another federally funded loan fund under Benton Franklin Council of Governments. We use both of these federally funded programs to do small loans, mostly for small businesses, and the two authorized purposes are to either protect existing jobs in small business or create new jobs in small business. And so we're looking at this week reviewing a couple of funds loans that have been challenges in these funds and getting those sorted out. One of them is we thought would be a default with a significant loss, but staff has actually been able to have a significant recovery on it. So good work to them. That's probably enough for this week. Thanks.
Commissioner Mullen.
So this past week, we had the Ben Franklin Transit meeting. last month they were talking about wanting to wrap all the buses at a cost of about $8,000 per bus to wrap them, and we voted that down. So now they've came up with an idea to advertise community events on the buses at a cost of about $800 per bus, and the work will be done in-house, and we agreed that that would be a lot better use of taxpayer funds rather than spending the 10 times that amount to wrap the entire bus. So they'll be promoting community events and such on the sides. Also want to address, I got a letter from a constituent about some accusations, same accusations, I guess, were kind of printed in the Tri-City Herald, but they were under like letters to the editor. But they were addressing the Costco building and how, saying that we created issues that kept them from coming. And I just want to state that that's all city and has nothing to do with the county. And so if there's, rumors floating around that the commissioners, made restrictions that made Costco to a different town, those are 100% false. That all lies on the city council. So if you have complaints or understandings that you wish to express to them, I would reach out to the city council, because unless the other commissioners know something I don't, we have absolutely had nothing to do with that. And so wanted to address that. And then also this, I don't want to mention the person who sent the letter because I do appreciate it, and I just want to make sure that things are cleared up. But the other issue was the HAPO building and putting it out to RFP. So my objective is just to be as open and transparent as we can be. And I guess to best justify that, I actually interviewed a person for the management position on HAPO on Thursday, and Tuesday Simmons took over. And nothing against the Simmons. I think they're outstanding citizens. They're pillars of the community. But I think to be open and transparent, there may have been other people that might have been interested in that. And that is why we're putting it out to RFP, or my suggestion is to. And again, nothing against the Simmons. I think they're outstanding people. I think they got caught up in an urgent need to manage the facility, and I sure hope that they reapply and go through the RFP process. So the concerns are the same as, from the letter, is the same as mine. I'm really upset that Costco didn't come to Franklin County, and very disappointed in the decision to go elsewhere. But again, had absolutely nothing to do with the commissioners in the county. That is a city matter.
So Commissioner Mullen, you've invited comments on that issue of Costco from other commissioners. Would this be a convenient time for me to offer that?
Sure.
Okay. So I think you said it's all on the city council, and I understand your meaning, that really it's their purview, not ours. It's an issue that I've followed quite closely, and my understanding is that early discussions and concerns from Costco revolved around the city's plan to do staggered improvements to Road 100 from Interstate 182 north. Costco expressed concern about building a new facility and having several years of road construction and improvements happening. And the city's response, as I understand, was, okay, they will make the road improvements for Road 100 contemporaneous with the Costco. So that issue was resolved and settled in everybody's satisfaction. The only issue that has drawn the county in were some discussions over the past couple of years about road traffic on Road 100 southbound coming out of the county, and discussions by the county about possibly diverting traffic off of Road 68 at Clark, westbound over to come down Road 100. Whether or not that had any bearing on the discussion or on Costco's thinking, I have absolutely no earthly idea. I don't work for Costco and I don't have connections there. That's the only thing that the county's done or said that I'm aware of that could even conceivably play into it. The latest that I've been told from a variety of sources is that Costco was looking at a variety of locations and that the discussion between Costco and the landowner was principally the part of the negotiation that weighed heavily on their decision to move elsewhere. So from what I believe I understand of it, it was not an issue between Costco and the county or even Costco and the city council, but it appears that it may have been within the negotiations of the landowner and Costco. I don't work for the landowner. I don't know that to be fact. I'm just, like the rest of us, hearing a lot of information from constituents, and I don't want to put it on the county or the city council or on the landowner because none of us really know, but that's what I'm hearing from the city and from constituents. Thanks.
Yeah, well, yes, thank you for that further information, because to be accused of creating that issue is 100% false. I mean, we have nothing to do with it.
Commissioner,
May I speak, Chair?
yes.
I was there for the vast majority of those meetings, and I can say the county's name never came up one time. So I don't want to get into what was spoken, because that's privy information as to what ultimately transpired, but I can 1,000% say the county was not at fault for Costco not coming to Pasco.
Right, thank you. And also received quite a few calls from constituents about their tax assessments. And I would encourage you to reach out to the assessor's office and speak with John Rosenthal. And to answer, George, your question, my assessment went up over 35%. And it sounds like that's kind of what everybody is seeing and being shocked by these large increases. It seems excessive in my opinion. So, and that will end my updates for this week. Thank you.
Last week I had the ARPA Fund meeting, Columbia River County's caucus meeting, which big discussion there was the Pasco Aquifer, which they're talking about. Some of the Bureau members that are receiving water can pull out of that Pasco Aquifer that is very large. And my comment to him was that since this water has already been bought, you're not buying the water, but you're buying the operation, the maintenance, and the delivery of this water to your farm that finds its way to the Pasco Aquifer, then the farmers should benefit from this. And they're saying that this will be a water service contract. And I said, well, in a time of a drought, the water service contracts are the first ones to be pulled. Well, these will be different. And I said, well, that's sort of, it's confusing the situation. When a one water service contract is going to remain open and run in a drought-stricken year and the others will have to be shut off, it'll create a lot of friction. So I think that they need to reevaluate whose water this is. State of Washington and the feds are sort of fighting over it. Well, we've already paid for it, for the operation, maintenance, and delivery thereof. I think they need to be looking at us as a primary holder of that water. Had the veterans meeting, got on it, but they had another meeting going on at the same time, so that meeting didn't happen. Ben Franklin Transit, I agree with Commissioner Mullen. Again, they wanted to wrap these buses for an exorbitant price, but thankfully we've got a general manager that's getting more reasonable with the funds that they're collecting, 0.6%, which equates to about $45 million a year for Ben Franklin Transit, possibly more. Had the agenda meeting. And then, yes, I also received that letter. I think all three of us commissioners received that letter, and this lady is blaming the county for Costco not coming there, and we really had no say in it, none. It was the city that was working with them, and we didn't have it even on a discussion item. Also received numerous phone calls from very angry citizens in Franklin County about their property assessments. I got my property assessment. I didn't figure out the percentage, but the market value went up 1.94 million, and my open spaces went up 949,000. And I have told John that he needs to throw out any purchases by the teachers' unions and the teachers' pension plans, because they're working on a no net gain, and we as farmers can't work on that process. We have to make money. If we can't make money, we don't stay in business. The teachers, they're coming out here buying land for exorbitant prices, 20, 30 million. 20, 30,000 an acre, excuse me, 20 to 30,000 an acre. We can't pay that. And again, I encourage the people to get a hold of their legislatures and get something going like California has, and that's Proposition 13, along with the Williamson Act. You pay taxes on what you bought it for. And if the teachers' pension plans and unions want to come in here and spend 30,000 an acre, they pay taxes on 30,000 an acre. We pay taxes on we paid for the ground, and it all equals out right where it's at right now. If they want to buy it for that much, they pay the taxes for it. And quit penalizing us for their unhealthy purchasing of land. And with that, but yeah, the phone calls, and then I've had some people calling me also about they wanted to get a signature from the engineer, and I guess he was out helping the chip seal. So I'll talk to you about that afterwards, Craig. There's a guy that came down for a signature and wasn't able to get it because everybody's out of the office doing the chip seal, I guess, right now.
Why we encourage appointments.
Yeah, okay. All
Mr.
right,
Chairman, question?
Mr. Peck.
You have mentioned the notion of the state adopting something akin to California's Prop 13, and in my remarks today, I solicited any ideas that people would like to have taken to the 39 counties as a possible legislative agenda item this year. Would you like me to include that?
Oh, I think you need to look into California and Proposition 13 along with the Williamson Act. It allows people to pay taxes on what they paid for the ground on the duration of their ownership.
I'm well acquainted with them, with those statutes. What I'm asking is, would you like me to, as the chair of the Legislative Steering Committee, bring your idea to the body?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank
I would
you.
hope you wouldn't ask for my permission. I think you'd want to be the lead on that because it's only a fair way of taxing people.
Well, I don't know that I necessarily agree with the suggestion. I'm just asking you if you'd like me to bring it forward, and you've said yes, so I will. Thank you.
All right, with that, we'll move down to elected and department. Oh, one more statement here is I've had people calling me that have tried to call into the assessor's office, and they're not getting any. Nobody's answering the phone. The assessor's office is on a statewide conference this week, so there's nobody in the office, and they don't have a recording up stating that. And we need to get something on the line stating the fact that there's nobody in the office, and next week they will be back.
There is some,
There are some people,
there are some.
but they're not answering the phone because they're not even getting a message.
Probably because they're tied up with.
Oh, probably because there's a lot of phone calls. That may be it. All right. So I encourage everybody, get down to the assessor's office. If you know that your tax evaluation is not correct, then file with the Board of Equalization, because that's the way our voices are heard of we the people. So next we'll move down to elected department head business. Is there any elected department heads that would like to come forward for comments? Seeing none, we'll move down to administration office business.
None today, sir.
None today. Back to public comment. Chris, if you'd like to come forward, public comment, I would like to hear the rest of your information.
3 minutes, Chris, read fast.
Oh, it'll be real quick this time. So I just want to reiterate, I think the assessor is doing the best he can with the staff that he has and the training that they have. And again, like I said last week, you know, I'm more than happy to offer consulting. I have talked with a few different appraiser peers. They're happy to offer consulting to help out, you know, the staff, because they don't know what they don't know. And unfortunately, the assessor also doesn't know that they don't know. And I think in good faith, he's allowing them to lead based on their position, and unfortunately, they may not know what they don't know. So my advice for the Franklin County residents, because of what Commissioner Didier just said about not being able to contact the assessor, and then also what George Dockstader had mentioned, that the pushback from them is just file the appeal. Get your paperwork in, file the appeal, contact an appraiser. If you can't find them on Google or whatever, call a realtor. They know a lot of appraisers and they know their numbers, and a realtor can get you in contact with it. We have many good appraisers in our area that could get you an appraisal on your home. And again, the appeal date is July 3rd. You have to have that filed by July 3rd. And remember that an appraisal on an individual property is always going to be more accurate than the algorithms and models that they create for mass appraisal. It's a one-size-fits-all, and it doesn't fit all. And in this case, it's not fitting many. So get an appraisal, get an independent appraisal. That should be sufficient with the Board of Equalization, and you should be able to dispute your appeal. And I think if we do this in numbers, we can send a message to the assessor's office that they need to do better. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else for public comment?
Yes, that RCW for the appointing of chief examiner by the commission is under 41.14.050. What I'm attempting to do, and I would like the commission to honor, and I will work with Michael, is to have an update that makes sense, because we operate more like a department. We're not just taxpayers. We are volunteers. But that does not mean that we are managed by everyone else. We work directly with the offices, much like you do. And I'm trying to bring this county commission in and up to speed with the Civil Service Commission so that we have a successful county. And I thank you for your time. But I would suggest, at least for a temporary period of time, occasional reports with Michael so that you guys do understand and have a good idea of what's going on as we move forward in an independent Civil Service Commission. Thank you.
Anybody else, public comment?
And no callers, sir.
No callers. Okay, we'll close the public comment period, and I believe we have 2 executive sessions.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we do have the need for an executive session. It's 2, so we can combine them. It's under RCW 42.30.110, Section 1, subsection I, litigation or potential litigation, and we'll allot 15 minutes.
Okay. Thank you all for attending. We're going to move into executive session. We'll recess. And just tell me when we're ready. We've come out of executive session. We're going to extend for 10 minutes, same RCW, and at this point, we'll recess into executive session.
How close are we to our time? 5 minutes?
Yeah.
So,
We
We're
can't,
on the record right now.
yeah, but we can't really, we told them we were going to be out in executive for 10.
right, so we can't take any action in that time.
Okay.
So I think we still have about 3 minutes left on the executive session time, just not starting in case there's people who were planning to come back in for additional business.
Okay, so we have used up the allotted time for our executive session. In case you were waiting for us to come out, we are now back to regular session. And is there any other business for the good of the county?
No, sir, we are finished.
So with that, this meeting is adjourned. Who was it? It was